And welcome back, everyone. My name is Tyler Boronski. You're watching my YouTube channel where I interview professional athletes and celebrities. Today, my guest, he plays in the San Diego Padres organization. He's an outfielder in their organization and is about to begin his 5th season in pro ball. My guest, Nick Torres. Nick, appreciate you coming on, and how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on, Nick. Now, before I get into some baseball questions, I actually want to ask you about a YouTube channel that your wife runs called the Baseball Gypsy. It's a really great YouTube channel that really documents your guys' minor league life, so to speak. So, for fans to really understand, can you speak on maybe some of the goals and messages you want to share using that YouTube channel and the videos you guys make there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just kind of tagging along with her in regards to the whole YouTube channel, but really one of the biggest things that she wanted to do by starting it up was really kind of give like an inside look into the life of a minor leaguer, because we constantly are getting questions and comments that do us where it just is clear that people don't quite understand the lifestyle. They think it's very glamorous, and obviously there's benefits and there's really cool things to it. But people don't see the fact that you're spending hours on a bus ride to the middle of the night to get up and play a game the next day, and they just assume that a ton of money comes in, and realize that until you make to the big leagues, you're scraping for the most part. But and then I think one of her biggest themes that she tries to get across is that we're not perfect by any means, and we've had a lot of people that we're fortunate enough to have said like they admire our relationship and stuff, but we wanted to make it clear that we're nothing special. We're just two average people that happen to be living this lifestyle, and that's all there is to it, really.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's one of my favorite baseball related channels out there, so definitely like your guys' videos a lot. Any chance we ever see a Nick Torres solo vlogging channel, kind of like River Stevens almost?
No, nothing like that. That's not really my forte. I've gotten a lot better with it, but it's funny looking back. We went over this last year. We watched a ton of videos from 2017, and just how progressively less awkward I got throughout. So I don't think I would do so well on my own, but it's perfect, kind of just playing second fiddle to her during all the channel stuff. So
yeah, sure, less camera shy, so that's good. Good improvement. All right, Nick, we'll get to your career a little bit, because you started playing professional baseball in 2014. 2015 was your real first full season, splitting between A ball and high A, and you had really good success at those two levels. And then you were selected for the Arizona Fall Leagues. So how rewarding was that selection for you, since the Fall League's known for being filled with top prospects from each organization, and the Padres are telling you you're one of those guys for them?
Yeah, I was coming off a really good first full season, which is funny because a lot of the guys that I had been drafted with starting out in high A, and I went off to low A Midwest League. And to me, I saw it as a challenge. How can I make the most of this? And I didn't want to be left behind. I wanted to prove myself, and I played that season with a big chip on my shoulder. And then to have a good season and to show like, hey, I'm here to perform, I'm here to stay, was good for me. And then obviously, it was aggressive for me to go to the Fall League, but I jumped at the opportunity. Jankowski was supposed to go that year, and he had spent some time in the big leagues that year and passed up on the opportunity. And they gave it to me, and like I said, I was fired up to be able to go play with some guys that were big names in the minor leagues at that time, guys that I'd been following for a year or two before even I got drafted, and now I'm playing against them. And it was good for me to see that, as tough as it was, and there's some outstanding arms out there, some outstanding bats, guys that are like breakout players in the next year in the big leagues, that I could compete with those guys and I could up just as well with them. So it was eye-opening. Although I didn't perform maybe to the best of my abilities at that time, it was really good to know that with some improvements I could hang with those guys.
Yeah, most definitely. That's awesome. Now, 2016 was another good year for you. I mean, you started the year at AA San Antonio, performed really well, and then they moved you up to AAA El Paso at the start of August, and you hit 308 over there. Can you speak on maybe what you can credit that success to that season, and how comfortable you felt during that AAA stretch where maybe you're putting up some of the best numbers of your career at the highest level you've played at?
Right. Yeah, I was really fortunate to have some good coaches that year. That season in AA, they brought in Philip Wellman from outside the organization. An amazing manager, really knows how to manage personalities, how to manage a bunch of guys and make them a team. So that was perfect for us. Jimmy Jones has been for a while. He's outstanding, such a good personality. He's really good for the hitters, aside from just the position players. Brings a really professional but fun atmosphere. And then lastly, our hitting coach that year, Johnny Washington, who spent last year coaching first base in the big leagues for us. He's incredible. His knowledge about hitting is so far and beyond other coaches that I've had in the past, and he really helped me a ton to make some adjustments that were much needed. I had the good year the year before, and I'm in the fall league and stuff, but it showed me that I needed to make some huge adjustments in order to compete in AA and in TripleA if I wanted to continue on. So I worked with him day in and day out before hitting stuff even started. I was in the cage with him, working my tail off, those adjustments, and it paid off, and so it was really good for me to have that experience, to work with him. And same thing I said with the fall league, it opened my eyes that, okay, I can take this next step forward. So that's all it is. That's what it's all about, right? Is just how I've competed at this level, and once you dominate that level, you take another step forward, and that's just how it works.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And I love that you mentioned those names, because those are some familiar names to me, and I've heard only great things about them as coaches, so that's really cool to hear. So Nick, I know last year, I'm sure when you went to spring training, you were expecting maybe to be at AAA El Paso to start the year. Unfortunately, they sent you to AA San Antonio again, and you ended up spending the full season at San Antonio. How surprised were you to maybe get sent to San Antonio again, or even more so, not get a call up to AAA during the season? Do you remember what the coaches told you during spring training about the reasoning behind that decision?
Yeah, obviously I was expecting to go to AAA, but it's easy to tell other guys this, and it's harder to give your own advice. But I gotta focus on what I can do, and I can't control where they sent me. I knew I had a great year the year before, but if it was their choice to send me to AA, that's their choice. I can't play the GM, and that's the way I looked. First, I was frustrated to say the least, but you know what? That's just part of it. I can't control where they send me. All I can do is control how I go out and perform this coming year. And, I wouldn't so much connect the dots between my struggles at the beginning of the year and that. I think it was more dental than anything. But, it's tough. And it was something I had to battle through and, just accept, hey, I can't think about when am I going to get called up. And, you hear coaches constantly tell you that, hey, if you're thinking – I need to do this so I can get called up, and then I need to do this so I can get called up. You're not going to be able to focus on what you're doing at that particular level. You start to get ahead of yourself and everything. So, yeah, for me, once I kind of just accepted, you know what, all I can do is grind here, do the best I can here, and if something happens and they decide to call my name, that's great. But if not, I'm just going to continue to do what I can here. And I think that helped me, and in turn, it helps the team, really. And we had a great team last year, and I think everybody got on the same page and was not worried about where they were going, when they were getting called up and stuff. It really helped us as a whole.
Yeah, most definitely. That's awesome. And you spoke on controlling what you can control, and 2018 season's already coming up. I can't believe spring training's literally a little more than a month away. I feel like the Astros just won the World Series, so it's kind of crazy to think. So, Nick, what are you doing in the offseason right now to maybe focus on improving your game to hopefully take that next step in the upcoming season?
Well, this has been a very different offseason for me in regards to the work I put in. But, I feel like this has been the best one that I've had so far. In the years past, I've really tried to, gain strength and size, and I feel like that's what would set me above if I came in looking bigger and stronger than everybody else. And I've kind of realized that doesn't really translate so much. And, guys, especially as veterans get older in their careers, they start to focus less on how big and strong can I get, but how can I use my body most efficiently. And so I think that's what I tried to do this offseason, whereas in years past I was just trying to, gain and gain. And this year I've focused more on leaning out, toning it down, finding a good, light, comfortable playing weight where I can still hold on to my strength and retain it, but, be a lot more athletic. So I my body's felt better than it ever has. I feel lean and still strong. And then I've worked with the hitting coach, Johnny Washington from TripleA that, those years ago. Been working with him, hitting with him a few days a week, just grinding it out in the cage, getting my reps in at the local high school fields and stuff with ground balls and throwing and all that, just trying to stay healthy and gearing it up for, like you said, it's coming up hot, spring training. So, hopefully within the next month or so, I'll be right where I need to be.
Yeah, perfect, Nick. All right, just to wrap it up, I have a couple fun questions to ask you. You've played, obviously, a lot of different ballparks. You've played up to AAA level. I know you've played at spring training, major league games. So, favorite ballparks, any that come to mind just throughout your career?
Yeah, I'm not just saying this being a Padre, but I have to say it's a split between Midwest League playing with the Tin Caps, and then the El Paso Chihuahua Stadium. Those two stadiums are incredible. Guys ask me about that and going up to AAA and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? More than anything, that atmosphere and playing in that ballpark is just so cool. To me, that's the closest you can possibly get to the big leagues without actually being there. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that. And like I said, in the Midwest League, too, I mean, that stadium is so far above other Midwest stadiums. It's incredible.
Yeah, most definitely. I've heard a lot of good things about the El Paso Chihuahua Stadium because one of my buddies, Jonathan Galvez, he was with the Padres for a little while, and he played there, and the place I heard is really awesome. So I definitely want to check it out one day.
Yeah, and more importantly, the fans are so into it there. Love El Paso Chihuahua's baseball, which makes it fun for us.
Sure.
So.
Awesome. And final fun question. Toughest pitchers for you throughout your career? Any that, for some reason, they have your number, so to speak?
There's a couple guys I faced this last year. One guy in particular with the Astros, he was their closer one of their closers this last season in AA. But I swear this guy was throwing 96 with 3 seam on his fastball. I don't remember his name, but yeah, he was tough. And then, I remember one particular at bat in the fall league where I faced Nick Birdie, the older brother of the Birdie. And I remember him throwing me 98-mile-per-hour cutter, a 99-mile-per-hour cutter, and then a slider that bounced at 50 feet that I swung at. And I just remember thinking, this guy is so good. So just little things like that, little at-bats that stick out in my head.
Sure. You just tip your cap to them when something like that happens, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it was the only time I faced him, and maybe the only time I will. But that at-bat sticks out in my head for sure.
That's awesome. All right, Nick. Can you give some fans maybe some social media plugs just to wrap it up, and then also maybe plug your wife's YouTube channel as well, so fans can check that out as well?
Yeah, absolutely. My wife's YouTube channel is the Baseball Gypsy. Give her a follow. She does an incredible job at documenting our lifestyle and a ton of other things. We have an Insta-famous dog.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, but he's got our dog Scout has 31,000 followers on Instagram.
Goodness.
Crazy. It's absurd. But yeah, she's a character, so that's another thing. She documents our lifestyle, me, her, and our dog, all the things that we do. As far as other social media platforms, I'm not super involved, but there's things that I've come across in the last year, such as the Sports Spectrum, that they're really good about, telling good stories and, really making sure that they're preaching the Word of God as well, and I think that's awesome. So it's something that I take a lot of pride in, and, it's awesome to be able to support them. And lastly, IJM, which is the International Justice Mission, is something that my wife and I were introduced to for this last year, and I encourage everybody to look into them, and they're really involved in ending, slavery nowadays, and it's crazy how much of an issue there still is with it out in the world. And so they're an incredible organization, and anything like that you can get involved in, I really encourage guys to do that.
Yeah, well, definitely appreciate that info, Nick. And fans, you can follow this YouTube channel at TBAutos512, same name on Facebook, plus interviews, and then on Twitter at Ty Boronski10. And Nick, really appreciate you coming on with a busy schedule, so thanks
no worries.
much. Best of luck this upcoming season, Nick.
Thank you. I appreciate it.